Hey everybody, welcome to the channel, or welcome back if you are a returning viewer. For those that are returning to the channel, you probably noticed something different. Had an intro going, my sound was finally figured out. As mentioned in my videos, I like to keep content in the queue, right? I like to keep, because I only like to release one video a week. I just kind of stack videos, and I have anywhere from 1 to 2 years worth of video that's scheduled to be released, right, in my queue. And occasionally if I get something different, something unique, something that I haven't come across before, or something where there's kind of an information void, I'll go ahead and shoot a video and release it early. Well, there's not an information void on this particular turntable, but and my review is not going to be anywhere near as coherent and descriptive as some of the other reviews out there. But my approach is going to be slightly different, because if you watch my channel, you know that I do primarily vintage gear reviews. Well, here we don't have a vintage turntable, we have a new turntable. And I have been on the fence as far as purchasing one of these for the last couple of years. And this is a brand new turntable. So I bought it secondhand, but this was an unused, in the box, sealed turntable. Picked it up from my friends at Grapefruit Records. Got a great deal on it. And I've always been curious about this turntable. I've had it in shopping carts, and I just never pulled the trigger. And I'm so glad that this came right into Grapefruit, and that I was able to pick it up and then shoot a gear review on it. So here we have the Music Hall Classic semi-auto not semi-auto. Well, we'll call it auto lift turntable, belt drive. Dimensions were flashed on the intro slide. Music Hall turntables. I'm not going to do what I would normally do, where it's like, okay, in 1977, here were the models, and I'll do something similar to that, but I'm not going to do any like history of Music Hall. That's really not what I do with the new gear review segments that I happen to shoot, which I really don't shoot any. But I'll go over what Music Hall is offering today when I went to their website. So as far as the Music Hall lineup goes, they have lots of options based upon how much you want to spend. You can get into a Music Hall turntable new for as little as $300, or you can spend more than $5,000 on one of these turntables. So the specific series information as posted on their website today, the top of the line was the 11.3. Walnut plinth, exposed belts. I mean, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful turntable. When I looked at the site, I saw 5 different tiers of turntables. So yeah, the top of the line, right, that's its own thing sitting over there by itself. Then you had like the $2,500 tier beneath that, or $2,500-ish is what I'll say. In that tier, you had the 9.3 and then all of its different variations. You had $1,000 to $1,800 tier, which is a big spread. But if you're going to drop $1,500 on a turntable, or $1,200 or $1,600, I mean, they're kind of all in the same ballpark. And I'm not going to go over all the different features and functions of those because they're new turntables. There's so much information out there. I don't need to go over that for you. Then you have the $500 to $1,000 tier, right? So that's where the Music Hall Classic sits. And then you have the sub $500 tier. Right, so all those models, you had 11.3 and 9.3 and 7.3 and 5.3 and 3.3 and 2.3 and 1.5 and 1.3, and then the US 1. And there probably have other makes and models out there. I'm familiar with Music Hall. I've serviced one. It was like an MMF. I don't even remember what it was. I'll flash the little screenshot of the video up for you to see what I did to it. I think it was just kind of a basic setup and service. They're great turntables. They're very nice turntables. The aesthetics of this, though, in my opinion, excluding the top of the line $5,000 turntable, I think this is probably, in my opinion, because I'm a vintage turntable guy, this is the best looking turntable of the bunch. And at the time this was released, and I'm thinking they probably started selling these around, and I'm totally guessing here, I didn't even do this research, but I remember first seeing these around 2020, 2019, 2021, somewhere around there. And at the time, Music Hall, I think, was the only new turntable, right, that you could buy with the vintage vibe to it. And it just caught my eye immediately. So I think it's the best looking turntable of the bunch of Music Hall turntables. Probably not the best performing, probably not the highest build quality, but because I'm a vintage guy, I just love the look of this turntable. It reminds me of the old school AR turntables, right? You have a boxy plinth, you know, some of those, most of those didn't, or some of those didn't come with dust covers, but you could buy them afterwards. The dust covers for those sat on top. As far as an exact kind of, not a direct, this is not a direct descendant of this turntable, but it reminds me probably most closely of the Sansui 2050C. That's an automatic lift. It's got a boxy walnut plinth dust cover, right? I mean, naturally it's not the same. The controls aren't laid out the same or anything like that. But I think this kind of closely resembles that, or most closely resembles that. Now the difference is this is all walnut, you know, on the top. So, you know, maybe a Pioneer, you know, 550 or something like that. But that's, I think, a manual turntable. I don't know if that's auto lift or what. Right, but I just think it's a gorgeous looking turntable. After these were released, though, then I started seeing kind of steadily over the years that other manufacturers were introducing vintage-inspired, I'll call them vintage-inspired turntables. So you have, you know, all these other manufacturers that make at least what appears to be, right, a veneered plinth, right? It's not just the typical, you know, black plinth or a red plinth or a clear plinth, you know, whatever. They all have this vintage vibe. So TIAC makes one. Audio-Technica has their version of, right, a turntable that that is a vintage table. U-Turn, Fluence, Dayton, Project. Dual even makes one. And the reason why I mentioned the Dual specifically is, of all those other turntables, one of the major differences is, at least aesthetically, a lot of those turntables, like the Fluence, they don't come with, at least I don't know, I couldn't see images, right? And I'm not doing an exhaustive search on this. They didn't come with, right, an aluminum or a polished platter, which is kind of, you know, it's one of those common characteristics of an old vintage turntable, right? You have an aluminum platter, you have a metal platter. Dual was the only other one that I saw, and the Dual is, you know, it's $1,000 turntable. Now I don't know if it's any good, right? But it along with the Music Hall Classic has that vintage, more of a vintage vibe, because you have the aluminum platter. Now the other materials, acrylic or glass or whatever, probably better materials for the plinth, right? But keeping with the vibe, right? The metal is just what they did back in the day. So, you know, operations on this, what I normally go through on my vintage turntable reviews is I go over the, you know, the operation. I'll do that, and then I kind of go over things to look for and things, you know, things that you should be aware of if you're going to consider a turntable. I'll kind of do a little bit of that, but this is not going to be my traditional, right, turntable script that I follow. So controls on this are easy. I'm going to get in the screen or the, just for a second. Power button is on the rear, so we'll turn it on. You see the 33 light illuminated. These are pretty easy to use, right? There is a tone arm clasp here. You have a manual tone arm elevator, goes up and down, right? Put the needle in position. To turn it on, you just hit the 33 button, it turns to blue, right? And then you drop the tone arm down. 33 and 45 speed controls are over here. You have a manual counterweight, right, mounted back here. We have anti-skate here. Oh, I guess I did not dial in the anti-skate. Kind of see it moving a little bit. So this is a... Oh, you know what? I haven't even set this up. I forgot. I haven't even set this up yet. Sorry for the abrupt edit there, but I realized I hadn't even set this thing up. So I was going to show you the function, and then I realized that I didn't even have the counterweight set. So here's what it should look like, right? So you move using the tone arm lever, right? So I don't know where I left off, but using the tone arm lever, right? Or the tone arm elevator, you lift it up, and then you hit start, and it starts to play, and then you drop it, right? Wherever you want to drop it, either the lead-in groove or the run-out groove. Now I want to show you, right, what happens with this is at the end of the record, tone arm hits the run-out groove. Right at the end of the record, see the light is flashing. What's supposed to happen is that is supposed to lift off at the end of the record and stop. There it goes. All right. Just took it a little bit. Interesting. That's interesting. Right? And I haven't tested this. So this is good. This is really good. This is really good. Let me try this again. Because I want you to see what you may encounter. So let's do this again. Let's drop this down. Because that was the first time that it would have auto lifted at the end of the record. So let's see what happens again. So I don't know if this behavior is normal or not. I hear the motor engage, and then it lifts up. It's kind of noisy. Huh, that's interesting. I'm not going to edit this out because, again, I want you to kind of see what this thing does. So that is very, very, very interesting. So normally on a vintage turntable, it hits that run-out groove, and then it does its thing, like instantaneously. This one, I don't know if that's normal or not. I'm gonna have to go into the user manual and see if that is normal behavior. So that's curious. So operation is easy. Whatever that just did there, that's interesting to me. That does not give me a whole lot of confidence on this turntable, but we'll give it the benefit of the doubt because, again, I'm one of those guys, I don't even read the manual, I just kind of do it. So let's see if there's some additional tweaking that I can do on this. If so, I'll either shoot an additional segment and add it, or I'll put a blurb up here when I go to edit the video. But operation is easy, right? You just speed, tone arm, put it in position, lower it, you're good. Serviceability, I have no idea. I have no intention of working on this. I don't know, again, if that was normal or not. Common issues, I'm not aware of any. I did a search on, the Vinyl Engine and Audio Karma forums. I couldn't find any common problems with these. I would have thought that auto return or that auto lift function would have been smoother than that. That to me is a little bit clunky. So that is very surprising. So I don't know if that is an issue or not. Probably should have been better prepared for the video. So instead of doing what I would normally do, which is from the technician standpoint, what to look out for on this turntable, I'm going to do a pro and con list for the turntable. And then, prices, I won't disclose what I paid for this. But MSRP on these is like $650. So $649 is what I saw. I'm not sure if they go on sale. I'm not sure if you can get them, at a better price through different online vendors or not. Pros, they're new, right? So you have an implied warranty. You also have, a reasonable expectation that it's going to work properly when you pull it out of the box, like I did. I had to assemble this. I had to pull everything out of the plastic and put this thing together and all that stuff. So you should reasonably expect it to work correctly and properly. If not, there should be some type of warranty. I'll see if I can determine what the warranty is on this. But again, I normally don't do that for my videos. So. Music hall turntables are generally reliable. However, their turntables are manual. So this is an automatic lift at the end. So who knows how reliable that mechanism is going to be long term. If this is how it is supposed to operate, it's very clunky, right? I don't know that I have a lot of confidence in its ability to continue to do that 5 years down the road. I'll just be honest with you. If that is not the way it's supposed to happen, if it's not supposed to be that noisy, and if it's not supposed to take that long, then I don't know that this is going to be a reliable turntable long term. I'm not saying it's not. I'm just saying I don't know. Because again, I have no data to go off of on these turntables. Another pro though is it is great looking. It is a very good looking turntable. It looks the part. It looks like a vintage turntable. Auto lift, that is a pro, right? Because you don't have to pay as close attention. If that's the way this is supposed to work, at least if I'm listening to a record, farting around, right? It's not gonna continue to sit there in the run out and just keep going and going and going. So it'll stop itself and then it will automatically return. It has a built-in preamp, so if you are new to vinyl or if you don't, because again, someone that has a vintage setup could easily integrate this into the vintage setup and have it kind of look the part. But if you want a vintage turntable but you don't want a receiver and all that type of thing or an integrated amplifier, you can just get some powered speakers and this is all you need, right? As long as there's volume control on the speakers, because this has its own built-in phono preamp. Don't know how good it is, don't know how bad it is, right? But it has a little selector on the back, line, right? Or it's either line, usually it's line or phono is what it says. But you can either use the line level output, right? Which would use the phono preamp in here, or you go directly into the phono preamp on your integrated amplifier or your receiver. It does have a good cartridge. Now this is the Music Hall Spirit cartridge, which from what I have seen online, this is an Audio-Technica 95, right? An 1895 cartridge, which is a great cartridge for the money. So I think that is a pro, out of the box, you get a decent cartridge on it. And then you can bring your own cables, right? BYOC, bring your own cables, which is really nice. The cables supplied seem to be high quality cables, right? So you've got the cables with an integrated ground wire, so that's nice, right? But if you don't want to use these, there are, you can upgrade your cables, which is really, really nice on this turntable. So those are all the good, right? The cons, this is a very light turntable. Right, it's only like 16 pounds. I think I round up on my the specifications that I put, like the dimensions. So I think it was like 15.5 pounds or something like that. So it's a light turntable, right? If you know anything about vintage turntables, typically the heavier the table, the better. Even new turntables, I would include that. That's a good rule of thumb. The heavier it is, typically the higher the quality is. So it is a light turntable. And if you look at where it falls in the lineup, this is kind of a middle of the road. I wouldn't say it's an entry level, but it's definitely a middle of the road turntable. This modern dust cover is crappy, right? The way you can tell, and again, I'm going by vintage, so maybe this is just how they make these dust covers nowadays. I have zero confidence in the ability of this dust cover long term. A lot of the dust covers from the mid to late 80s, when they were trying to save money, right, are made of this real cheap plastic material. You can see it's still kind of vibrating, right? It's still kind of moving. So I don't have a lot of confidence in the dust cover. You get a dust cover, which is nice. But again, it's just not a great dust cover. It has an angled head shell. So what you can change the cartridge, which is nice. Some entry-level turntables, you can't even change the cartridge. Like I'm talking about like the Audio-Technica LP60, right? You're kind of stuck with their cartridge on there. So you can change out the cartridge. The problem is you can't change out the head shell. So, you know, and I'm not saying this is a bad head shell, but let's say I wanted to kind of trick this out and get a Nagaoka cartridge or head shell. Like I have a MP300, right? I couldn't put my MP300 on here because it's just a straight head shell. So that is kind of a bummer. You know, this is in keeping with some vintage turntables, like some old Pioneer turntables have this angled head shell, and as well as some other manufacturers. So it's cool that that's a throwback, but it does limit, right, your choice of cartridges. You could probably buy, depending upon the angle, you could probably buy some aftermarket head shells to mount, you know, different cartridges, but why would you do that? Right? Again, if I'm buying a really high-end Audio-Technica or a high-end Ortofon or something like that, pre-mounted on the head shell, I would like to be able to use it, but I can't on this. So again, it's probably split in here. It's just not a big thing. For those that watch the channel, they you know that I'm retired military, so I have like ringing in my ears. So I would not be able to hear the difference if I used one head shell versus the other, most likely. You know, at least that's my assumption. So anyway, the angled head shell is a con. And then if that is as smooth as the auto lift operation gets, I think that's a con. The auto lift functionality is good, but the execution and what I just saw, I don't have a lot of confidence in it. I don't. Let's just do it again. And again, I'll have to watch another video. And again, if it's what it's supposed to do, that's fine. But here's the run out: 1 1000, 2 1000, 3 1000, 4 1000. I mean, that's 14 seconds and it's still just sitting there, and this is flashing and it's not shutting off. So I don't think it's supposed to sit there for 20 seconds and sound like it's dying, right? So this may turn into a service video as well if I figure out whether or not that's supposed to do that, because that is not. Again, I don't know that that's going to work every time. That was like 20 seconds. That's crazy. That is crazy. That's I don't know about that. So the functionality is good. If that's the way it's supposed to be, the execution is really poor on that. Right? On that functionality. Yeah, that's weird. That's weird. And again, I don't edit my videos, so you just kind of get what I just went through. And again, I haven't even plugged this in. Hell, it might have a hum on one of the channels. I don't even know. So anyway, that's the Music Hall Classic. Interesting. Beautiful turntable. You could pick one of these up and scratch that vintage vibe. Again, there are other options. Just by judging what I've seen here, I think $650 is too much for one of these turntables. If that auto return function is not functioning properly on this, and it's smoother and it's quiet, that would be a positive. But since this was brand new and not used, the fact that I pull it out of the box and that's what it's doing, that is not good. That's not a good on you, Music Hall. Like that's yeah. Either this is not working properly, brand new out of the box, or that's how it works, and that is, I have very low confidence in its ability to do what it's supposed to do in auto lift at the end of the record. All right, quick ad to the end of the video. So I went and grabbed the manual. So I got some more negatives on this Music Hall. So number one, there is no information in the manual regarding how that auto lift is triggered. What I saw online was it senses sound, the absence of sound, which is, I don't know if that's accurate or not. there were some complaints on like Crutchfield's website where the 10-second delay, or people were saying there's a 10-second delay at the end of the record before it picked up. Some users were saying that it would just pick up randomly in the middle of the record. So I don't know if you're listening to a record and there's a 10-second absence of sound, if it would just stop randomly. Again, I don't know. I don't know. So it seems that this might be how it is, which I think is, that's not good. That is not good for this turntable. Now, and I also read that this power button on the back is actually for the auto lift function. So let's see if that is accurate. So I believe what that means is, no. So that's not even, in the manual, here's what it says. Oh, this is awesome. This is awesome. Press auto stop on off on the rear panel to turn the automatic stop function on. So maybe there's another button back here. Let me look. Oh yeah, there's a lever. So that is power. There's a button to power the entire thing on, and then there's a little switch back there for auto stop on and off. Yeah, I don't know. Let's do it again. I don't know why I'm so geeked up about this, but I'm really glad because, you know, reviews out there, like if people are getting, you know, a little bit on the side from reviewing gear and the sales, you have to be kind of suspicious. Again. Quick edit. I turned it off, so what I was going to show you was how long it takes this to turn itself off. So I'm going to put this in the run out. Let me make sure this is here. So this is the end of the record. So as soon as that hits, I'll start the timer and stopwatch. Okay, so there we go. So song just finished playing. Started flashing. Yeah. 16 seconds, 15, 16 seconds, and a lot of noise. A lot of noise. Yeah, I don't know. You might not be seeing this early. You may or may not be seeing this early, I don't know. But that, I don't like that. I like the turntable, I like the idea. Execution on this is poor. Execution on this is poor. 15 seconds I think is too long. And obviously it's sensing something that's not positioned on this. So my fear would be, what if you put an old crackly record on this? Is it just going to sit in the run out and play forever because it's picking up sound? Or if you have a passage where there's not a lot of audio, is it going to pick up? Again, I haven't verified that that's how it works, because your 5-page owner's manual really doesn't explain how that works. At least I can't find it in here how that works. And then there's you know, and this is just a nitnoidy little thing, but the English in here is not the greatest, right? So where's it at? So here's the verbiage out of here. On the auto stop on off, it will automatically raises the tone arm. Somebody should probably proofread the owner's manual a little bit better before these are printed and put in the box. So, hey, that's yeah. I don't know. That may not bother you on this turntable, but I don't think that this is not going to be one I'm going to keep. I'm going to go back to my vintage turntables. You know, I have more faith, at least in the auto shutoff. I have a Marantz 6300 that I just finished working on. You'll see the videos probably before this. I'm not going to release this one early because there's no point in it. Well, maybe I will, because people need to know. But the Marantz 6300 auto shutoff with the light sensors works better than this. I have more confidence in that 40-year-old technology than I do in this, 1-year-old music hall classic. So anyway, now I'm going to wrap up the video. As always, if you like what you see, like it, subscribe. Catch you in the next one.